Hello, hello to my True Blue crew. It is so good to see everyone on Wednesday, July 9th, 2025 for my weekly sew and chat. This is my quilting time, and I love to just invite you along. I keep a running commentary of what I'm doing, and it's wonderful to see all my friends pop in and say hello. So if you are joining me for the very first time, hello, welcome. To all my returning friends, hello to you as well. Karen is the first in the chat. Good to see you, Karen. What are you working on today? It is early in the month, so we have a new clue for the Puzzle Mystery Quilt. Hello, Dawn. Good to see you. The Puzzle Mystery Quilts are wonderful kits from Cotton Cuts. I am one of their mystery ambassadors, project partners, and I am sewing with the Odyssey colorway this time. It is a nice, warm, neutral, lots of tans, dark browns, blacks, and these wonderful graphic prints. Oh no, Karen says her knees are out, so she's just designing quilts and blocks on her laptop. Well, that's fun too, dreaming of all your future projects. I really enjoy my EQ8 software sometimes, just putting blocks together, running through different color combinations and things. So what I have noticed with this Flyway mystery is there are a lot of square in a square units. I feel like we have done square in a square every single month. So good thing that we only have a few to do at a time. It's one of those things that when you commit to a mystery project, you just have to trust the project process. Trust that it's all going to come together beautifully in the end, and I have faith that that will happen. Cotton Cuts sends you the directions, or they link them online, and there's a wonderful Facebook group. If people are having trouble, you can get lots of help there. We are making two versions of our pieces today, our rows. And that's the other fun thing about Cotton Cuts, is that this is a puzzle mystery. So the pieces go together just like a jigsaw puzzle. It's not that we're making straight blocks that will be put into straight rows. We're making different sections that have different sizes each month. So what I like to do, first of all, is I take my color card that they send you. You can see these are all the fabrics that will be featured in the quilt. And I make little notes to myself on the layout, because they print this layout in grayscale. So you can't line up the pieces based on color. You have to go by the labels that are on your color card. And Tasha is here. Hello, friend. My quilter friends with injuries. Karen's dealing with knee problems. Tasha pulled a muscle in her leg. I hope that's feeling better. But I like to name my fabrics, and I write those names on the pattern direction so I can stay organized. It's taken me a few months to figure out a system, but I have it down now. So we are going to start with, they're all the same unit. It's just the combination of colors that you're doing. Okay, so these all get paired with these. And this one gets paired with this. And then this gets paired with this. Okay, so we've got all of our color combinations paired up. And I am just going to chain piece my units, because with square and a square, you sew opposite sides and then press and sew opposite sides. And it's always a good idea to press or to crease your fabric. And so I creased that one to the right side of the fabric. And then I want to crease the triangles to the wrong side of the fabric. And that way the creases will just nest inside each other. And I know I will probably have to slow down and go over those directions again, but it was actually Tasha who was doing this method with some curves, and I was struck by the brilliance of that. I had always creased to line up the centers of square and a square pieces, but alternating how you fold to make those pieces nest, just fabulous. Okay, so what do I mean by that? I've taken, and watch on the workspace, I'll demonstrate. We take the first piece of fabric that we're trying to line up, and I'm going to keep that right side up, and I'm going to fold it so those right sides are together. And that kind of makes a boat there, a V. Concave, we're dipping in there. You can kind of sort of see the crease there that I've made in the fabric. And I went ahead and I creased both sides of that square. Then I take the triangle that I'm adding, I'm going to fold this wrong sides together. So see how I'm still looking at the right side of the fabric? I'm going to fold that in half and I'm going to crease. And then when I lay the right side of my fabrics together, those two creases just match up perfectly. They lay right in line there. And then I know I've got my centers matched up for those pieces. Oh, Karen is dealing with rehab after a stroke, trying to get all her function back. We hope that you continue to improve. Glad you are enjoying watching me sew. You can certainly find a lot of other folks as well. So whatever type of project you enjoy, I'm sure you can live vicariously through a bunch of different YouTube quilt personalities. And Tasha is doing the really bright, did they call it flamingo? The really bright colorway with the Tula Pink and K Facet fabrics. I hope that it comes together for you nicely, Tasha. I agree with some of your concerns. Some of the colorways, contrast gets lost. So you really have to study the fabric selections. I might have to do a video about that. But you don't know until you try. So I'm glad you're pushing through the discomfort, Tasha, and somebody somewhere will love the finished product, I'm sure. But yeah, it's frustrating when things don't, when you would have made different choices. And that's the risk of a mystery, letting someone else choose all the pieces for you. They have another mystery starting in August. Do we start in August? And Jean is here. Welcome, Jean, a new quilter. We're glad to have you. Cotton Cuts kits are actually great beginner projects because everything is pre-cut and you can just line the pieces up and start sewing. So that gives you a lot of time to master the 1/4 inch seam that is the foundation of quilt sewing. Some people get really stressed out about cutting, and there may be some difficulty maneuvering the rotary cutter and the rulers and everything on the fabric. So learning how to cut is one stage of the process. Learning how to sew your straight 1/4 inch seam is another step. And then there is the pressing, which gives it that finishing touch. And obviously I don't have anything ready to press yet, so I will save those tips for a little while. The other fun thing that I have going on in July, besides my weekly Wednesday sew and chat, is the Tour de Fabric. And you'll find a link in the video description. This is one of the quilting summits that have been so popular over the last couple years, where a bunch of different quilt teachers get together and offer a variety of workshops. And so you get to attend all these workshops online for free. And there is just a wonderful community that builds up. Of course, there are some paid options. If you want to upgrade, you can buy an all access pass, and that will let you watch the videos for the rest of the year instead of just in the month of July. So if you've got travel plans or life just gets too busy, you can purchase that all access pass for another 6 months of viewing time. And there is also a pattern bundle that is being offered in conjunction with the Tour de Fabric. And a few of the designers got together and put patterns in this bundle. And so you get 18 patterns for about $3 each. Great deal. So I'm just getting all of my pieces prepped so that I can start sewing these square in a square, because that is the only unit in this month's clue. It's just we make a bunch of square in a square and put them in rows. And I don't mind these blocks. They're fun, but like to see a little more variety. We all are critical when, you know, someone else did all the hard work of designing the quilt and cutting the fabric. I just have to sit here and sew. So it's not real nice of me to criticize, but you know, I'm just sharing my opinions. Hi, Lori. Glad you could pop in for a little while from the East Coast. I always find I have a good friend that I talk to on Zoom regularly, and she is in the Eastern time zone, and I'm here in the, well, right now I am in Pacific time because I live in Arizona and we do not observe daylight savings time. So that means that when everybody springs ahead, California catches up to us and we're on the same time zone. And then when they fall back, Arizona doesn't change, but all of a sudden we're aligned with mountain time. So we flip flop back and forth. Sometimes we're 3 hours off the East Coast, and half the year we're 2 hours off the East Coast. And I have to say, I like being 2 hours off better. It just, for some reason, being 3 hours apart, you're always interrupting mealtime for somebody. You know, when I want to go live, it's dinner time on the East Coast. When they want to go live, it's, you know, it screws everything up. So I've heard rumors that the US is going to stop doing daylight savings time. We're just going to be on whatever time zone the state decides. And I hope that we'll be on mountain time. Plus the Navajo reservation up north, they do observe daylight savings time. So you could still be in Arizona and have to be a different time zone. So kind of crazy. And then I heard another talking about weird random stuff. Because it's always nice in the summertime to have it be light later. And those of you up north deal with, sunshine well past 8 o'clock in the summer. But I saw a headline that the earth is spun like a millisecond faster today than usual. So these random things. Yes, Lori, Arizona time zones are way too much math. And someone who taught math, you would think it would be, but having to remember all the time. Oh yeah, +3, +2, +3. If it was just consistent, you could get used to the formula. Okay, finally ready to sew all of my units for Clue 6. And for the new folks, the new quilters out there, I am doing what is called chain piecing. So let me move the workspace camera, motion warning, just so you can see the sewing area. That means that to make a chain, I am going to put my next piece right under the needle and leave the one I just sewed where it is. And these are all, it's like making a banner. Everything's sewed together across that one edge, all connected. And I like to pay attention to the marks on my machine. The little piece that covers my bobbin has some lines on it, and I've made some other lines with a Sharpie marker right on the plastic bed of my machine, and that helps me keep everything lined up so I know where my 1/4 inch is. And I was sewing earlier this week with my daughter. Guess what she decided to do? She wanted to sew her own swimsuit. So we trekked down to the fabric store and found some, Lycra 4-way stretch material in some solid colors that she wants for this bikini. and it's a lot of effort, but so far so good. We've been working on the straps. So I have never been a garment sewer. I like to just sew straight seams with cotton fabric. So this is quite an adventure for me as well. Karen from so and so says she's not a fan of daylight savings time either because the sun sets so late and people are mowing their lawns at 10 p.m. Yep. And of course, here in the Phoenix area, we have to be careful with our extreme heat warnings. They tend to issue extreme heat warnings anytime it gets above 112, I think. You know, if it's 113, 115. Um, I was coming back from an exercise class yesterday and it was 116 at like 4:30 ish. So yeah, we definitely stay indoors um, with those kind of temperatures. And of course, the kids will be at the swimming pool, and if there's even just a little bit of a breeze, you'll see them shivering, and it's well over 100 degrees, but with that cooling effect. So my husband always grabs it's I want to say it's an old dishcloth, but it's more like that gauze material. And he just wets that towel and keeps it around his neck so that you've got that evaporative cooling going on. And don't get too uh, panicked about people in the heat. To those of you that have lived through blizzard conditions, it's the same thing in reverse. We just don't have to shovel afterwards. We just hunker down. Oh, Karen says she used to make costumes for plays and films, and yes, bathing suits are challenging. We'll see. It's a bikini, so a few pieces like this. We'll see um, when we put it all together. But I'm just glad she's trying it. Get the experience. She thinks she's saving money. Um, we'll see how much her time is worth once we get it all together. They gave us a very easy clue this month because, like I said, they're all the same unit. We're just sewing square in a square. And the colors are very standard. We're doing all four sides of each square are in the same fabric. So there's not a lot of thinking. We can just sit and sew. Karen, with your background in costumes, you'll appreciate this. My daughter was a figure skater when she was young, and we would have some of her dresses custom made. There was a seamstress, a tailor in town that we would go to, and we could just take her a picture of something we saw online and tell her the colors, and she would be able to make it fit. And then our challenge after the basic dress was made was to do all the crystalling, because figure skaters have to be sparkly. And yeah, it was really fun. She did like her very first routine was can. And so we had this cute little striped dress, and I was just putting a few little rhinestones down the stripes of this dress. And I sent a picture to her coach, and the coach was like, "Oh, Andy, more rhinestones, more sparkle." Yeah, within a few years, I was bedazzling it like you wouldn't believe. And I don't know what they're doing for crystals now, because I heard that right around the time she stopped skating, Swarovski stopped selling their packs of crystals. So kind of crazy. And at one point, I had a little tool that I used to trim all of my squares after I had chain pieced them, and I don't know where I put it. So I just keep my scissors and I snip. Okay. One more to sew before we press. Okay, so I have step one done. And pressing on these, we just press out. So I am going to press towards the triangles. And while I'm sitting here talking to you all, I do remember to set my seams. I don't always remember that step when I am quilting. That just means you press the stitching while everything is still folded here. So I'm pressing right against those stitches, and that kind of like embeds them better in the fabric. It may give you a little bit of a flatter seam is the idea, that the fabric doesn't have to roll over the threads, that everything can just press down a little better. And that one I didn't get going the right way, so we'll encourage that a little bit more to be flat. And I have started pressing on my wool mat. For years, I didn't have a wool pressing mat, and it really does help absorb that heat to the other side and makes your blocks nice and flat. Karen, No, I did not hand sew crystals. I I was a gluer. We used we used E6000, and we would just put dots of glue across the costume and then press the crystals in. So in a well-ventilated area. But I did way back, like right after college, I wanted a Christmas tree skirt, and I was in a craft store, Joann's or Michael's or something, and I saw this really fun design with Santa and a sleigh and reindeer going around the tree skirt, but it was all sequins. And well, not all, some felt pieces, but lots of sequin accents. I swear that is still in a bag in my closet. I got most of the sequins done. I think I just need to put like a couple little swirls and right around the edge. And then of course I started quilting, and at one point I thought, oh, I could put a flannel back on this and sew some rickrack around the edge rather than all those crystal or all those sequins. But yeah, that was poke up through the center of the sequin, add the little bead and loop back around, and oh, very tedious. And then I have cats now, and they're one of Santa's arms holding the reins for the reindeer are loose. Not, I mean, it's attached, but it's three-dimensional. And I was like, oh, that would be way too tempting for little animals in the house at Christmas time. I would hate for them to rip up all of that hard work. So what other ambitious craft projects do people have that have not been finished? I know we all have quilts that aren't done, but any other? Okay, as I said, we're all four sides of our square are the same fabric, so I need to match those up and go through my creasing process again. To find the middle. I'm trying to figure out the best way to have a stash sale, because I went to an in-person event last Sunday, and I was working over the last few weeks to cut down a lot of my scraps into fat quarters and 2.5-inch strips and those kind of things. And I don't know if I want to have kind of a auction type event here on YouTube and just, show off the different things, and people can comment or send a message and claim and, pay through PayPal and stuff. Or if I actually want to go, there's a website that you can host sales like that. Or if I just want to list everything on my website and have people purchase that way. That's probably the easiest, because this room is full. I will be sewing for the rest of my life with just what's in here. And we all know that that doesn't work, because you need just one more little bit of fabric in the right color to complete a scrap project, even if you've tried to do everything from stash. And Karen's working on some crochet projects. There was, speaking of other needlework, I've had an urge lately to get back to cross stitch. And my daughter, gosh, it was at least 5 years ago, we were in a craft store and she saw a little cross stitch kitty cat in the middle of some flowers, and it was all kitted up. And so I bought her the kit. And of course, by the time I had sorted all the thread and got it set up, she wasn't interested anymore. So I don't even know. My problem with that chart is it's the actual chart is so small. I'm going to need to make a bunch of copies at like 200% to even read the pattern. But I did a lot of cross stitch. Was my first textile art when I was a kid. I was thinking about that the other night. I have tucked away, when we cleaned out my grandparents' house, I had made my grandfather a little cross-stitch picture. If you remember the cartoon Ziggy, it was Ziggy in roller skates. Said, like, let the good times roll or something. But, it's so outdated now because no one is going to remember Ziggy. We don't get our comic strips anymore. Hi, Katie. Glad you popped in to say hello. Katie, are you doing this Flyway mystery, or are you going to start with the next one, which is Under the Sea? Oh, you think Ziggy fits? Sometimes I feel like Mr. Magoo bumbling around. And the other one I was thinking of today, just the way my hair was falling with like my bangs straight across and then the side straight down. I felt like Prince John. Wasn't it Prince John, the like crusader? That was one of the comic strips that you'd see on Sunday morning. And we actually chose Danae as my daughter's middle name from Non Sequitur, because they had a really smart aleck little girl named Danae. So we give her a different version of that story, but I've seen some really nice modern cross stitch designs. I'm not sure. There's a lot of crossover between cross stitch patterns and quilt patterns. Like, you'll see cross stitch versions of quilt blocks. And I'm not sure how I feel about this. because I kind of like cross stitch to be its own thing and not have to copy from quilt blocks. But it's kind of funny. Back as a college graduation present, my mom made a cross stitch sampler that is all like little Amish women with quilts hanging behind them. And here we are all these years later, both of us as quilters. It's kind of very serendipitous. And Katie is doing the Phoenix for Flyway. And as you can tell by the channel name, Katie is the Greenland quilter. She lives in Greenland, which I think I'm so fascinated by expatriates, you know, people that pick up and live in a totally different country and culture. And I just really think that's awesome. I dream about it occasionally, but I'm not actually brave enough to pick up and go and do that. Of course, when I was in college studying political science, I thought that it would be wonderful to be a diplomat and work in a foreign embassy. So that's where my childhood dreams were taking me, that or a war correspondent for Time magazine. And now, you know, from the comfort of my old age, it's like, no, you know, I think a nice quiet life here in the US is, I'm doing just fine. Oh yeah. Expatriate, a adventure seeker. What term can we use for you, Katie? Transplant doesn't, I don't want that to have negative connotations either. Yeah, I agree, Lori. She says, what a culture shock for Katie going from Florida to Greenland. But as long as you have good people around you, and sounds like you and your husband have a very nice life up there, Katie. It was really, really fun. About 10 years ago, I was able to go visit my college roommate because she lived in Hungary and a small town. So we had a wonderful European adventure to go see her and tour the little town where she was living, and, you know, just all local kind of stuff, not the big touristy things. Get out in the countryside. It was really nice. Oh, thanks for watching, Lori. Yes, Katie had me on her channel for an interview, And I am definitely going to reciprocate it. Just need things to quiet down at work a little bit before we get that scheduled. But yeah, very adaptive. One of the great things about human beings. We're not stuck in one place, I think is a good way to put that. Whether we choose to make the change or are forced to make a change, we can usually get things to work out. And I tend to be fairly optimistic, so I do believe things will work out as they're supposed to. And I love the saying, it all works out in the end. And if it's not working out, then it's not the end. So, yes, Katie, I agree. She says, I think most Americans need to open their minds to all the possibility and potential they can experience. Yes. And I think travel helps, obviously, get beyond our borders and our hometowns and see what's out there in the rest of the world. Very important for perspective. Oh, yeah. Katie's saying her younger sister moved to Spain. Um, and I had a friend when I was teaching whose family was missionaries in Haiti and had lived in Haiti for decades, which I just think is so fascinating. Again, these people that are brave enough to just pick up and go to other places. Lori just retired and is planning on traveling. Yes, you go. I can't wait to do that. I first have to go visit, all my online friends and have some sewing, just a revolving sewing camp. Meet all of you in person. Oh, darn. Beep, beep. My. Yes, I know. 2 more stitches. Okay. My bobbin was about to run out, but I have like 6 inches left of thread and it won't let you go any further. One thing I hate about this machine. I like the warning that your bobbin's about to run out, but I don't like that you can't ignore it. Katie, I am working on clue number 6 of my Flyway mystery. I managed to stay right on time this month. In some other months, I have gotten confused and done my stitching before the correct time because I am an ambassador, so I get the clues ahead of time. And then, yes, they have a schedule. It's right here. It tells me which clue is which. Clues are always released on the first Friday of the month. And, depending on, I think it was June, I sewed on the first Wednesday. I did my clue, and the first Friday was after the first Wednesday, so I was ahead of time. Yes, Tasha, you need to catch up. She's working on 5 and 6. Okay, here's another quilty topic for debate. I just put a different color thread in than, so I'm not matching top and bottom. So what are your feelings about piecing thread? What color do you use? Should you use? Do you match it to the fabric? I generally just keep a neutral color, a tan or a gray. And I have some other threads with bobbins wound. I have my little donut bobbin saber. And so over the years, I have quilted or done bindings usually with these other colors. And then I just leave the bobbin. And it's piecing. No one's really going to know what color. So because I didn't want to take the time, here's the real reason. Let me demonstrate what I'm talking about. I grabbed a different color. So this piece, you can see maybe right there, it looks a little bit darker than the other side. If you can see any of the stitching there, maybe I can hold it straight up here. And where are we? Yeah, those two sides. This one is invisible because it was a light color thread, and this one you can almost see the stitches because it's a light blue. It's the bobbin. It's in the seam. Nobody's going to see it. I don't care if my bobbin thread matches my fabric. But some people would be very concerned and would need to switch that thread out. So yeah, Karen, close enough. Okay, so I was chain piecing, so now I have to, I'm one of these people, I don't leave the chain together when I sew. I have to have each individual piece go through the machine independently. And there's some people that will leave it all sewn in the chain and press it all as one long unit. Ugh, can't do that either. Separate those pieces. For some reason, I'm getting a little more cautious on this very last seam. And I don't want my machine to eat the tip of my triangle, so I'm trying to position it very carefully underneath the bed of the machine, or the needle, the presser foot. Forgetting all my vocabulary. I think I had one. Yes, I had one more to do. Okay. Wait a sec for that to warm up. Time to unclip my, cut apart my chain. And there we have a square and a square. Whoops. Positioned right on the camera. And there's an alternate colorway. Oh, Lori is saying, hi, Jess. Glad you popped in. Jess was doing the Moda Blockheads, which is another series of free block instructions. And Lori was saying she likes Jess's tutorials. So check those out. It's So Blessed by Jess. And Jess, I was thinking one of these days we need to do a Cotton Cuts sewing event together. And Katie and Tasha and Sean and whoever else, Lori, if you're doing, Dawn, if you're doing one of the Cotton Cuts, we should just pick maybe a weekend. We could all just, get on Zoom or something and sew together. Because it would be fun to see the different colorways come together. Okay, so I need, yes, this block, which is pretty wild with those graphic prints together, that's going to be in the center, and then these big dots go on the outside. So I'm totally off the screen on my workspace, but you can kind of see it here. Look to the workspace camera. I've got my dots in the center and then my lines, the lighter one on the other side. And then the other units are going to have this solid center. And the same dots on the outside. And I was wondering if these rows are going to make star points in the final quilt. Here, I'll angle it a little bit and you can see it there. It's kind of hard to see the different the different colors, because these prints are similar with the light design on the dark background, but you can almost see how this might be a star point if it lines up with this same fabric somewhere. So that is my one guess. I usually don't try to guess what the final layout is going to be. I just let it happen. But this has me thinking with all of the square and a square units that we have been doing. So let me catch up on chat. People seem to think that it would be fun to watch a bunch of us sew the Cotton Cuts quilts together. So I may have to pick a time to do that. It probably won't be until later in August, because my July has gotten filled up already. Okay, so lining up to sew these rows together, I am going to look right at the back of my piece where those seam lines cross, and I'm going to put a pin straight through there and make sure it hits at that V on both squares. And then I keep that pin vertical. I'm trying to match the corners there and pinch that together so everything's lined up. And then I will take another pin and put it on the right hand side, and a third pin and put it on the left hand side. So now I've got 2 pins flat and 1 pin standing up. And that is how I get those blocks lined up to sew square and a square units together. Okay, so I will look at my calendar, send some messages to folks. I will put a post on my channel so my YouTube friends can find it as well. And so we can all get connected through email to have a sewing party. Yeah, Katie is busy in July. She's celebrating her channel birthday. So congratulations, Katie. And I am looking at the time, and I'm going to have to go make dinner. My husband's on his way home from work, and it's just, since I work from home, I always feel bad if he comes home and cooks, which he does quite a bit because he's the greatest. And yes, he has a brother, but no, his brother's married, so can't offer the Stanfield men to anyone else. So, all right, folks, have a wonderful evening and happy quilting. May all your seams be straight and your bobbins be full. I'll see you next week.